call this September 4th Planning and Zoning Committee meeting to order. I ask everybody to please turn down their cell phones and stand up for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'll make a quick announcement. We have only 4 voting members here today. We do make up a quorum, but anybody who has doubt or feels that they would prefer to come back when there is more people here, you're welcome to come up here and tell us at the time of your call that you would like to postpone your meeting to the next month. Now, Madam Secretary, would you please take the roll?
Scott Lager.
Here.
Thomas White. Michael Carruthers.
Here.
Kimberly Mitchell. Here. Hugh Stippen.
Here.
Barbara Peterson. I would like to make an announcement for all the variance cases being held tonight. They will be at the conclusion of this meeting. You will get a signed ordinance tonight. For all other cases, you will forward to the Land Use Development Committee, which will be held September 11th, 10:30 in this boardroom. Those cases will be forwarded to the County Board, which will be held September 20th at 9:30 in the same boardroom. Thank you.
Okay, I would like to entertain a motion for approval of the minutes. We have 2 sets of minutes, so.
Motion for approval?
Yes, sir.
Second.
Which you, I
for
think
July.
we have to do them one at a
Let's do
time.
it July.
July, okay. And we have a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
For the August 7th, 2018.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. And if there's no corrections, anybody? Okay, then accept the vote. Everybody who's interested and approves this, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Okay. Next, I have an announcement. We are going to table, I'm going to ask the board to table ZC 08037 until October 2nd. There was a problem with the placing of the notification signs, so they are not ready for the meeting tonight. So if anybody's here for that case, it won't be until October 2nd, I'm sorry.
Is that case number ZC 18037? Which case is that?
So I'd like to entertain a motion to table.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay. It is moved. Next announcement, anyone who wishes to speak tonight, there's a sign-in sheet, which I hope you signed in. If you hadn't signed in and you come down to speak, I want you to sign in before you speak. And also, I'd like everybody who's going to speak to take an oath to tell the truth. So, repeat after me. I promise to tell the truth, so help me God. Thank you. So in case, we have a public hearing open. So would one of you please Make a motion to open the public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
The public hearing is now open, and the amending section, I'm going to put the glasses on here, amending section 155-7.30 of the Will County zoning ordinance, user table auto salvage.
Good evening.
Good evening, sir.
For those who do not know me, my name is Colin Musing. I'm the long-range planner with Will County. And not too long ago, January, February, we were doing a massive overhaul of the zoning ordinance. And during that overhaul, we missed a slight detail when it comes to auto rebuilding. The state statute has a whole different section on auto rebuilders, and we thought we got it right, but we missed some key details, and that would be identifying, let's see, basically auto rebuilders, and then we split them up between those in an enclosed building and those with outdoor storage. That was missing from the ordinance in the use table. So what I presented to you is the first section is what we presented to the Land Use Committee for approval for public hearing. And next, and then after some internal discussions, we felt it was necessary to include auto rebuilder in an enclosed building to model it after motor vehicle repair. Auto rebuilder is taking a vehicle that's already been junked, that is considered inoperable. Someone picks it up and puts it back into operable status, but it's not. It'll be titled under a salvage title, so it wouldn't be considered the original car. So in order to model the motor vehicle repair with auto salvage, we included being a permitted use in the C3 and C4, along with in the I districts. The auto rebuilder with outdoor storage will continue to be a special use in the I3 only. And with that, we can open up for public comment. And any questions you may have.
I have no questions. Anyone on the board have any questions? Does anyone in the audience have any questions? Thank you very much for your report. We'll take a vote on it.
You have to close the public hearing first. You have to close the public hearing first, and then you can vote.
Yeah, right, I understand.
Mr. Chairman, I move to close the public hearing.
Motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Okay. Public hearing is closed. Now, I'd like to take a vote on following the recommendations as presented to us tonight.
Mr. Chairman, with regard to the presentation concerning the update to the auto rebuilder, auto salvage, auto scrap language, I would move for approval as presented.
Second. Motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Approved. Case? No, we've got all 45 listings. Are you here for ZC 18045?
Yes,
Thank you.
thank you. ZC 18045 takes place in Homer Township. The owners are Edward and Bronislawa Lukanis. and the agent representing the Lucanis's is Stanley Marsden, their nephew. The applicant is seeking two variances. One variance is for minimum lot frontage from 300 feet to 264.30 feet, and a variance for minimum lot area from 10 acres to 7.433 acres. The applicant is requesting these variances to build a single-family residence with a barn and horse stable. The parcel was created October 6, 1986, which makes it a non-conforming lot. And pursuant to section 155-15.20 of the Will County zoning ordinance, development on all non-conforming lots must comply with the lot and building standards of the subject zoning district. A1 districts will require minimum lot frontage of 300 feet and minimum lot area of 10 acres. The subject property is located east of Lamont Road and south of West 143rd Street in Homer Township. The address is vacant, West 147th Street, Homer Glen, Illinois. The parcel is, as stated before, 7.433 acres, or 323,798 square feet. It is currently vacant, unimproved. There is currently no driveway access. There are polystreme wetlands and a Zone A floodplain in the northern end of the property. As mentioned, the property is zoned A1, and there are E1 residential to the north, A1 residential to the west, the village of Homer Glen residential to the east, as well as the south. The plat shows lot frontage to be the 264.30 feet, as well as 7.433 acres, and also identifies no formal right-of-way access to this property. And these are some physical characteristics. This is looking at the subject parcel to the north. This is via Google Street View. Staff had difficulties with weather cooperating while we were actually at our site visit. This is an image looking through Connect Explorer, which is one of our aerial imaging software programs, looking at the parcel, and you can note the significant amount of wetlands to the north. This is looking east along West 147th Street from the subject parcel, and this is looking west from the subject parcel. Staff recommends approval of all variances. Staff did not receive comments from the Homer Township Highway Commissioner or the Northwest Homer Fire Protection District. Staff did receive comments from the Will South Cook Soil and Water Conservation District and the Will County Health Department. Neither had objections, and comments were included in the staff reports. Building permits will be required to construct applicant's single-family residence and the barn. In order to obtain the necessary building permits to accomplish this, the lot has to meet A1 district standards. And staff does not believe that the granting of these variances will alter the essential character of the area. There is A1 and E1 within a half mile of the subject parcel, and the A1 parcels located to the east are smaller lot areas than the subject parcel. As well as the subject parcel is surrounded by Homer Glen Estate Residential. And that concludes staff's analysis.
Thank you. Does anyone have any questions of staff? Is the owner here today?
Yes.
Would you care to come down? You're not required to, because staff is recommending approval, but if you'd like to speak, please come down.
Absolutely. Good evening. My name is Stanley Marsden. I'm the nephew of Edward. He bought the parcel probably about 15 years ago, and at one point was deciding that once he retires, it's a nice piece of property, that he would actually build a single-family residence when the time came. Well, now's the time, and we went into the village determining that the parcel was unconforming, and we were needing a variance to move forward. So What we are requesting from the board is to see if we could possibly get the variance from the 300 feet down to 264.30 and from the 10 acres down to 7.43 to construct a single-family residence and a barn on property.
Okay, thank you very much. Is there anything else you'd like to say?
No.
Is there anyone here who is an objector to this case or a concerned citizen? Okay, thank you. Then you may sit down.
Thank you.
Entertain a motion in this case.
Mr. Chairman, with regard to case number ZC-18-045, I would move for approval of a variance for minimum lot frontage from 300 feet to 264.30 feet.
Motion and a second made. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign.
Mr. Chairman, with regard to same case number, I would move for approval of the variance for minimum lot area from 10 acres to 7.433 acres.
Second.
Motion and a second made. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Did we get everything?
Yes.
Okay, your case is passed, and you come down here, there's some paperwork for you. The next case tonight will be... Yes. Sorry for the delay here. Now, sorry, this case is going to be brought forward by Marguerite. Would you please cite the case?
Certainly. ZC 18046 takes place in Wilton Township. The owner is Delaire Leo Vernon Trust, where Leo Vernon Delaire and Kathleen M. Delaire are each 50% beneficiaries to the trust. The applicant is Leo Delaire. Mr. Delaire is seeking a variance for minimum lot area from 10 acres to 6.36 acres for parcel B. The applicant owns a 16.44 acres parcel and wishes to split the parcel north to south to create a parcel A and parcel B. There is a minor discrepancy in the staff report as to the reasoning behind the applicant's intentions. The applicant is requesting the variance because he would like to deed off the 10.08 acres to his son and leave himself the 6.36 acres, which is deficient in lot area. Pursuant to section 155-14.70 of the Will County zoning ordinance, no lot may be divided into two or more lots for the purpose of transfer of ownership unless the division complies with all applicable regulations of the zoning ordinance. A1 districts require a minimum lot area of 10 acres. The subject property is located south of West Hoff Road and west of South Cedar Road in Wilton Township. The address is 15839 West Doyle Road in Manhattan, Illinois. It is located at the corner of South Gauger Road and West Doyle Road. The date the subject parcel was created was April 19th, 2005. As mentioned, the parcel is 16.44 acres and is currently improved with a single-family residence and outbuilding. There is driveway access to West Doyle Road, and there is a Zone A floodplain located on the northwestern end of the property. This aerial shows the proposed division of the property. Parcel A, which is the western parcel that abuts South Gouger Road and West Doyle Road, and Parcel B, which is requesting the variance, is where the residence is located. And this is the zoning map. The property is zone A1. The subject parcel is surrounded by A1 agricultural to the north, south, east, and west. The surrounding A1 parcels are 10 acres or larger. The nearest residentially zoned parcels that are either zoned estate residential or residential are close to 2 miles to the east. Here's a platted survey showing the lot frontage to be 1,022 feet along West Doyle Road and 689.71 feet along South Gouger Road. As mentioned in the staff report, the parcel was purchased by the applicant in 2005 with the belief it was already divided into a north and south parcel. And you can see by the platted survey there is a dotted line representing the south lot and the north lot. According to Will County's Mapping and Planning Department, they do not have any record of this division. Hence, this parcel was never considered divided. Regardless of this would have been division, the applicant wishes to divide the parcel north and south, and he would have created a division lot either way. The applicant wishes to split north-south, creating an east and west parcel, and the western parcel, parcel A, is to be the 10.08 acres. The eastern parcel, parcel B, is the 6.36 acres. The parcels have yet to be divided. Here's looking at the subject parcel from the intersection of West Doyle Road and South Gouger Road. And here's looking at the residence off West Doyle Road. The existing residence and outbuilding will be part of parcel B. And here's looking across West Doyle Road to the northeast and to the northwest and to the southwest. And here's looking at the parcel across South Gouger Road. Again, looking south along South Gouger Road. And this is looking southeast, I believe, across South Gouger Road. Here's looking directly across from the subject parcel on South Gouger Road. And to the subject parcel to the northeast. And this is looking northwest. Staff recommends denial of the variance. The staff did not receive comments from the Wilton Township Highway Commissioner or the Manhattan Fire Protection District. Staff did receive comments from the Will South Cook Soil and Water Conservation District with no objections. And staff received Will County Health Department comments after the staff reports were sent out, and you should have received these comments in the memo handed out tonight. The Health Department does not have any objections to the variance. However, they do have a concern for where the proposed division of the property line will be located in relation to the existing septic field of the existing home. As mentioned previously, creating new lots must comply to the appropriate zoning district's lot standards. Creating a new 6.36 acre parcel does not meet the minimum lot area requirements of the A1 district. Staff finds that the hardship is created by the applicant. The applicant currently has a legal conforming A1 parcel, being 16.44 acres, and he wishes to divide this parcel, and in doing so will create a non-conforming parcel. Parcel B that will be deficient in lot area. As well as staff finds that dividing the parcel into a 6.36 6-acre parcel does not fit the surrounding area. And that concludes staff's analysis. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
I have one. Did you consider, or did the owner of the property consider going to the state subdivision, E1 or E2?
Part of our staff's analysis,
I read
we did not feel that an estate residential zoning classification would work in this area just because of the large agricultural presence. The closest residential zoning was nearly 2 miles away.
I read that, that I understand your reasoning, but 2 miles can fill up with a state and nothing flat in an area when it starts to move. And if this is, you say it's not there now, but if this is the preceding for what's coming, I'm just curious if you had considered all of that. You have.
It's up to, yeah, it's really up to your decision.
Anyone else have any questions?
No, it does appear that there are a number of, quite a few 10-acre parcels, with residences and maybe a little bit of hay or whatnot, on the parcel, maybe a row crop. So the 6-acre variance, probably isn't a big stretch.
Okay. Anyone else on? Okay. Would the owner like to come up, please? Sure. While the owner is coming up, are there any concerned citizens or interested residents in this case? Okay, thank you.
Hi. Yeah, I only got a
Give your
couple.
name and address, please.
Leo Delaire,
Okay.
15839 West Doyle Road.
Okay.
I had purchased this property like 13, 14 years ago in '05 with the complete understanding that there were 2 parcels because my legal said that. The attorneys and all that said it was 2 parcels, and somewhere it got dropped and it just ended up being 1. I got 1 tax bill and didn't think much of it, but that's where it stood. We erected the home on it because it conformed at that point, but I never paid much attention to that part of it. And my intention was we were going to build out there, and one of our son or daughter was going to be able to build on the other lot, and I thought maybe I just have to reconfigure the lot, and I didn't think it was that big a deal. But it ended up being what it is today, and seems to be a little bit of a concern about that. But the only couple things I had in regards to the staff report, I agree about most of it, with the exception of there was one of it on a report about making money off the property off this variance change. That's not the intent. The intent was to buy it, build something for ourselves and retire, and then one of our kids would build on the other lot, and that's kind of where we're at right now. We built the home, and that's where 6.63 or whatever it is acres it will be. The other 10 will be built for the home of one of our children that will live out there. And then the other one is item 2.1, alleged difficulty or hardship was created by the applicant. I really didn't create this thing. I'm trying to get it where I thought it was. It was 2 lots when I bought it, and the legal states that, but I'm just trying to get it there. So I don't know if I really created it or just trying to continue what I thought I bought. So that's where I am with that. And then the property's also completely landlocked around it. I can't do anything with it. It's got roads on 2 sides. Then it's got a 10-acre piece on the other 2 sides. So I can't even purchase a piece of property from anybody to try to get them both to comply because it's bound by the 10s that are next to it, so it's kind of stuck. So I can't do anything about that. And then she had mentioned that the sanitary sent a letter. I got that late, so that you guys also got that late, that they didn't have a problem with it either. Both parcels will have, like parcel A will have over 1,300 feet of road frontage, and it'll have the square footage and everything that was required for that. Parcel B will still have over 32% more road frontage than is required. It'll have almost 400 feet. So I don't know if that's really a big problem. It's just the square footage of a lot. Also, the township commissioner, the Wilton Township Commissioner, didn't send a letter or nothing like that. He's actually one of the abutting property owners, and I got the letter signed back from him that he received the letter and everything, so I can only assume that there might not be too much of a rebuttal on his part because he didn't come or didn't say anything or didn't send a letter, so I hope that's in that way. There are a couple other pieces that are small pieces that are within the 2 miles, but they're approved, they were done years and years ago under an old ordinance. So they're not quite as far as way as 2 miles, but they're done a long time ago. So other than that, that's all I can kind of say about it. So I can't do anything with it but what it is if it doesn't get approved. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I'd like to request a motion, please.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion for case ZC 18-046, approval of a variance for minimum lot area from 10 acres to 6.3 acres for parcel B.
Second. Motion is second. I think we'll probably have to have a roll call for this one.
Hugh Stippen,
No.
Scott Lager,
Yes.
Michael Crothers,
Yes.
and Kimberly Mitchell.
Yes.
Passes 3-1.
No.
Doesn't?
We need a four.
Got to have 4?
You must have a minimum of
Okay.
4, sorry.
Sorry. Oh. It's like this.
The vote was 3-1, so there is no majority, it does not pass.
And we have paperwork up here for you. You want to come down and get it? The chairman made that statement at the beginning, that if you wanted to, you had that option.
Next case, yeah, 53. Next case number is ZC-18-053, will be presented by Marguerite Kennedy. Would you start the case, please?
Certainly. ZC 18053 takes place in Washington Township. The owners are David and Colleen Webb. The applicant is seeking a variance for minimum lot frontage from 300 feet to 196 feet, as well as a variance for minimum lot area from 10 acres to 5.01 acres. The applicant's requesting these variances because she wishes to bring a lot into conformance in order to sell it. Any lot divided prior to July 20th, 1978 is deemed legal non-conforming and does not require zoning action to bring a lot into conformance or to build on. However, any lot divided after this date must meet the minimum lot area and lot frontage standards for the zoning district. Pursuant to section 155-15.20 of the Will County zoning ordinance, development on all non-conforming lots must comply with the lot and building standards of the subject zoning district. And as mentioned in previous zoning cases, A1 districts require minimum lot frontage of 300 feet as well as be 10 acres. The subject property is located north of East Indiana Avenue and just west of the Illinois-Indiana state line in Washington Township. The address is 29737 South Clemmy Road in Beecher, Illinois. The date the subject parcel was created was October 21st, 1980. The parcel is 5.01 acres, or plus or minus 218,341 square feet. It is currently vacant, unimproved, and overgrown with weeds, trees, and shrubs. There is currently no driveway access to the parcel. The property is zoned A1, and A1 is located north, south, east, and west. The parcels to the north and south that are zoned A1 are smaller than 5 acres. And the parcels to the east are 5 acres, but there is one that was recently consolidated to be 10 acres. The parcels to the west are larger, approximately 20 acres in size. And the closest residential zoning district is roughly 1.4 miles away along South Yates Avenue and just south of East Eagle Lake Road. The Platis survey shows the parcel to be 5.01 acres, as well as the 196 feet of lot frontage, and also identifies no formal right-of-way access to the parcel. And here's an image looking directly at the subject parcel across South Clemmy Road. This is looking northeast along South Clemmy Road, and this is looking northwest along the same road. This is looking southeast along South Clemmy Road, and that's looking southwest across South Clemmy Road. And this is looking straight across from the subject parcel westward. Staff recommends approval of both variances. Staff did not receive comments from the Washington Township Highway Commissioner or the Beecher Fire Department. Staff did receive comments from the Will South Cook Soil and Water Conservation District and the Will County Health Department. Neither had objections. As mentioned, the parcel was created after July 20th, 1978, which makes it illegal non-conforming. In order to obtain the building permits required to construct a single-family residence, the parcel must meet the lot standards of the A1 zoning district. Staff does not believe that granting these variances will alter the essential character of the area. There is A1 located within the vicinity of the subject parcel that is improved with single-family residence. And staff finds that constructing a single-family residence on the parcel best fits the character of the surrounding area. And that completes staff's analysis.
Does anyone have questions of staff? Is the landowner here? Would you like to come down, or is there anyone who's a concerned citizen on this case or an objector? There are no concerned citizens or objectors if you don't want to come down. It's up to you.
I'll just stay and come.
Okay.
I'm Tommy Webb. My address is 26340 South Greenwood Avenue in Crete. My husband and I bought this property approximately a year and a half ago in January 2017. We had every intention of building our dream home on it, but fortunately we found a house in our hometown of Crete that we absolutely loved. And after even coming up with custom home plans and everything for the site, we decided to stay where we were in Crete. And not wanting cheap mortgages, we decided to put the house up for sale. And that was at that point that we found it was non-conforming, and we had a couple other offers fall through because of that. Again, most of the other areas, or homes in the area, are on about 5-acre properties, and most of them are, have been there 15 to 30 years, I'd say. So we didn't create this hardship for ourselves. We're not looking to make money on it. We're just trying to free up our finances and move on.
Thank you. Anyone have any questions? I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, with regard to case number ZC-18-053, I would move for an approval of variance for minimum lot frontage from 300 feet to 196 feet.
Second.
We have a motion, a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. No, thank you.
Mr. Chairman, with regard to the same case number, I would move for approval of a variance for minimum lot area from 10 acres to 5.01 acres.
Second.
Motion is second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. You will approve it?
Yes.
We have some paperwork for you, you pass. The next case will be ZC-18-042. What do you, no, you got, okay.
TUP?
You have a TUP-18-011.
Correct.
I'm sorry.
No, that's fine. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We have a temporary use permit, TUP-18-011, which takes place in Monee Township, and the owner is Craig and Laura Tracy. This is an annual fall festival request, which will be familiar to most of you for year after year. I do want to clarify before we jump into the temporary use permit here that with the January 18th, 2018 zoning ordinance update that we did, most of these activities are covered under the agritainment category, so that falls under the agritourism, specifically the agritainment category. This covers things like hay rides, pumpkin patches, corn mazes, petting zoos with farm animals, which are the events that the applicant is doing on the property. However, it does not cover activities such as paintball, which is not agriculturally related, but is more of a commercial recreational use, is how we have it classified in the zoning ordinance. So the applicant is still pursuing a temporary use permit, just keeping in mind that most of these activities are permitted currently by right in the A1 zoning district, with the exception of these paintball activities. I have an aerial here up on the screen for you. The parcel is 18.77 acres. As I mentioned, it is zoned A1, and it also has a special use permit for a landscape business. It is surrounded by A1. There's A1 to the north with the utility line, but then beyond that there is R2. Plot a survey here for you on the screen. The property is improved with several buildings related to the landscape business and also a residence. This is a site concept plan showing some of those the landscape business related buildings, including greenhouses and things of that nature, and what their proposed use is for the Fall Festival. I think you can make out some of the lettering here, but we have the large greenhouse, we have a concession stand, we have the corn cannons, the critter corral, which is the petting zoo for the animals. And this is just another site concept plan that we have here talking about storage area. These are some images of this site. You can see the large main building that's on the property, and then this is looking north, and then we have here the greenhouse, again, one of the structures that's part of the Fall Festival activities. Behind the greenhouse here, we have the concession stand. This is the area where the corn cannons would be and the paintball gallery. This is the proposed parking area. It's a gravel lot. It's already improved. And this is the access to Crete-Moni Road. So staff is recommending approval of the temporary use permit for the Fall Festival with 10 conditions. As you may recall, we have not had issues in the past with this temporary use permit, and some of these conditions are standard conditions that have been on from year to year, so I'll sort of briefly go through them. We have our first condition, of course, which is our standard building division inspection will be required. Second condition is when this temporary use permit is valid through, which is September 29th through November 4th. We are requiring under condition 3 that all structures comply with requirements of the building division. Condition 4, requirements to comply with the fire protection district. Condition 5, with the health department requirements. Condition 6, again, this is a standard condition, all parking must be provided on site, so we do not want people parking in the right-of-way or on the roadways. Condition 7, if required, traffic control measures shall be provided by the Will County Sheriff's Office. Condition 8, the temporary festival structures, the decorations, and the signs need to be removed from the property 2 weeks after the event is done, so November 19th. Condition 9, again, Fall Festival decorations and signage cannot be located in the right-of-way. And condition number 10, the sale and serving of alcoholic beverages is prohibited. That would require an additional temporary use permit. And that concludes staff's analysis.
Thank you very much. Does anyone have any questions, staff? No. This has been in existence since 2012 without problem. I think we can probably move it on. So, is the owner here? Or the owner of record here for this Fall Festival? No? Okay, any concerned citizens or objectors here? Okay. I don't know where we went. Let's go ahead and make a vote.
I'll make a motion, case ZC 18-037 for approval of the special use temporary use permit. I have to start over. So I'm requesting approval for case number TUP-18-011, temporary use permit for a fall festival.
Second.
With the conditions.
With the 10 conditions, yep, second.
All in favor, signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries. The next case prepared by the Janine Farrell of our staff will be ZC-18-042. Yeah,
Correct.
please start.
Okay. Zoning case ZC-18-042 is a special use permit for a solar farm. And this takes place in Creek Township. The owner is the Wassman Trust with Beverly Wassman as 50% beneficiary, and Vincent and Sarah Scrimenti, each 25% beneficiaries. The applicant is Jonathan Roberts of Soltage LLC, and the attorney is Brian Keats. The applicant is proposing to construct a 2-megawatt facility on approximately 33 acres. I have the parcel here outlined in red for you. As I said, the parcel is 33.965 acres, and the special use area is actually applying to the entire parcel. I know oftentimes we have with our solar farm cases that the developer signifies a certain area within that parcel. That is not the case with this one. It is applying to the entire parcel. It's a zoning map. The property is zoned A1 and is completely surrounded by A1 zoning. I've applied a survey here on the screen for you, and I'm going to zoom in a little bit just to show you that we have a pipeline running, sort of bisecting the parcel here in half. And you will see in the site concept plan that the solar farm itself, the panels, the arrays, the fencing, all of the equipment is actually to the north of that proposed pipeline. And the applicant is proposing access right here off of South Cottage Grove Avenue. So the site is actually not located along Muntz Road, it's more towards South Cottage Grove with the access up here. These are some images of the site. This is looking north-west from the intersection of Muntz and South Cottage Grove. This is an image looking directly north from Muntz Road. This is an image that's looking basically at the approximate location of where that entrance would be along South Cottage Grove. This is one of the residential properties that is adjacent to the site. This is along Muntz Road. This is a site that's directly to the west of the proposed solar farm. And then this is a property that's also along Muntz Road, but it's sort of towards the southwest. So it's kind of kitty corner. I can show you on the aerial map. We have a view that's looking north along South Cottage Grove at the vicinity. And then we have a view of the parcel that is adjacent on South Cottage Grove. This would be looking west along South Cottage Grove, directly west from the proposed solar farm. You can see it's a communications tower there. It's a ComEd-owned site. Thought this would sort of help illustrate everything here. This is a Connect Explorer image, so we're looking north, and the site is outlined in blue for you. So we have Cottage Grove, we have Muntz, we have that home that I just showed you right there, directly adjacent to the west, and then we have that other parcel, like I was talking about, sort of southwest of the site, and then we have that tower over here in this area. But you can see to the north here, it is fairly vacant and unimproved farmland currently. So staff is recommending approval of the special use permit for the solar farm with 10 conditions, and I will go into those in just a second. Staff received comments from the Will South Cook Soil and Water Conservation District. the Will County Health Department, the FAA, and IDNR. The FAA determined there was no hazard to air navigation. IDNR stated that adverse effects are unlikely to protected resources in the area. Will South Cook stated that the use is compatible with the surrounding land uses and the area. Creek Township did hold a meeting, according to my correspondence with the applicant, on June 7th, but no formal comments were submitted to the land use office. I also had some correspondence with the Creek Township Highway Commissioner, which was, discussing some of their concerns with South Cottage Grove and potentially requiring a turn lane. There was some confusion with which site they were requiring a turn lane for, so there were no formal comments received from the Creek Township Highway Commissioner. The Creek Fire Protection District and the Village of Creek did not submit comments. Staff does not believe that the special use permit will be injurious to the use and the development of the surrounding area for A1 uses. Staff does not believe that this will be injurious to the public's welfare or safety, since the site will be secured by a 7-foot fence and landscaping will be provided. The equipment on the site, which the inverter is the only equipment that is going to make noise, will be located over 640 feet from the nearest residence at this solar farm facility. And with that, I'll go into the conditions, which I know many of you are familiar with, since we've had several solar farms here. So many of these are the standard conditions. So the first condition is our standard for the right of inspection. Condition number 2 and 3 discuss the landscaping requirements. So for this parcel, we are requiring along the western boundary, which is where there is the residential property, and then also along the road frontage areas, which, even though this isn't along Muntz Road, directly along Muntz Road, we're still requiring landscaping along that southern project boundary site, and then of course along South Cottage Grove as well. Condition 4, outdoor lighting is prohibited except for that which is required by code. Owner 5, we discussed the decommissioning plan, and a copy needs to be provided to the surrounding property owners with a copy furnished to the land use department, signed affidavits showing that they received a copy of the decommissioning plan. Condition 6 also talks about the decommissioning plan, that the site needs to be decommissioned in accordance with said plan after the site has not produced energy for a year. Condition number 7, this refers to the agricultural impact mitigation agreement, the AMA document, which was recently signed into bill. There is still discussion of which solar farm developers need to adhere to this. If you already have a project in the pipeline, are you required to enter into the AMA with the state or not? We are still looking for clarification on that from the state. So regardless, we have covered ourselves in either contingency. If they are required to enter into the AMA with the state, we will get a copy of the AMA. If not, then we will have them sign a local AMA with us. Condition number 8, prior to submission of a site development or building permit application, a pre-construction meeting will be held, and you can see some of the individuals that will be invited to attend to ensure that everyone is on board with the developments and aware of the developments. Condition number 9, again, this is sort of going back to this pre-construction meeting. We are requiring an agricultural specialist be engaged during that development process. And condition number 10, we are requiring approval, which is standard for building permits and site development permits, but this reinforces it, by the Creek Township Fire Protection District, the Will County Health Department, and the Creek Township Highway Commissioner. And that concludes staff's analysis.
Anyone have any questions of staff?
It all appears to be real consistent with other projects that come before this group.
Seems to be pretty much standard for most of what the solar farms are. The representatives from the company here are owners, okay, and is there any objectors or concerned citizens on this case? Staff is recommending approval. You have no objectors or concerned citizens, and We have no questions for you, so if you don't want to come up, you're welcome to stay there. It's up to you.
Good evening. My name is Jonathan Roberts. I work for Soltage, and this is.
Hi, I'm Bob Mack. I'm a civil engineer with Net Engineer.
We just wanted to take a quick moment to say hello and thank the staff for the report and thank the commission for your time this evening. I represent Soltage. I want to express something about our company. We are a company that owns and operates these solar plants, and so we don't just come in, get a permit, get the permission from the utility, and work with the landowner and leave. We aim to be long-term partners on these projects and actually own and operate the solar for the local electricity use that goes into the ComEd network as part of the FEJA bill that was passed, the Future Energy Jobs Act. And just wanted to say as well, we've kind of been monitoring state laws that have been passed, as the AMA was mentioned, was passed unanimously by both the House and Senate, by both sides of the aisle. There's also a pollinator bill that talks about native prairie plantings on the sites, and there's also a property tax bill. And the property tax bill kind of, in a uniform fashion, takes in all 102 counties in Illinois and standardizes the way that these sites are assessed, and it will create tax revenue for Will County. And as you may also know, as you've probably sat through quite a few of presentations of what these sites are about, the way the incentive that is created through the state law is set up, it's sort of a lottery system. So I know there's been a high number of projects that have come through, but unfortunately, the way it is with this development of these projects at the state, companies like mine, we come in, we do our best to comply with all the local regulations, and then at the end of the day, the incentive might not be there, or it won't be there for a majority of these projects. So only a small fraction are going to get incentivized and then hence actually be built. So just wanted to make that point for the record. But that's all I had. If there are any questions from the commission or staff, we're happy to answer.
Any questions from the commission? Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
I'll entertain a motion for this case number ZC-18-042.
Mr. Chairman, with reference to case number ZC-18-042, I make a motion for approval for a special use permit for a solar farm with the 10 conditions.
And second. I have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Next case would be ZC-18-043. Jessica Gao is going to present the case for us from staff.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The zoning case ZC-18-043 takes place in Creek Township. The owner is Karen L. Bergwin. The agent is Jonathan Roberts of Soltage LLC. And the agent is represented by Brian Keat as their attorney, and they also have enlisted Knight Engineering and Architects for their site assessment and planning services. The subject property is located at the intersection of East Goodnow Road and South Dutton Road. It is approximately 1.5 miles east of Route 1 on East Goodnow, so looking on the north side of East Goodnow. On the screen here is a site plan. So it's a proposed site plan. Some of these features, are subject to change, but it does outline all the solar arrays. And as you can see, the special use permit is going to apply to the entire parcel, but at this time, only about 10 acres is actually going to be developed and improved. But over time, they could expand should they want to. They're proposing 7,344 modules on the site. The arrays are on a fixed tilt racking system, which means that they'll be on a fixed tilt throughout the day. They won't be rotating like we've seen with some of the other projects before. So there's really those two options generally that the solar developers will use, either the fixed system, so we put in an orientation that captures the most sun throughout the day, while others have used the rotating that kind of changes throughout the day. There's a 20-foot gravel driveway entrance proposed off of East Goodenow Road. And the nearest array will be located approximately 127 feet from the right-of-way of Dutton Road, 120 feet from the right-of-way of East Goodenow Road, 70 feet from the eastern property line, and 500 or so feet from the northern property line. So this actual development is closer to the intersection and is far from the northern property line. It'll also be enclosed by a 7-foot chain link fence, and there will be landscaping proposed outside that fence. So the site plan is actually proposing landscaping along the road frontage area, so along South Dutton Road, as well as East Goodenow Road. There will have to be a little bit more landscaping provided, which would be addressed during the site development process along the northern side for any of the solar arrays that fall within 1,000 feet of the dwelling unit. So my approximate measurement would take a portion of that northern boundary as well, would have to have some landscaping because there is a residential area on the west side of South Dutton Road, a little bit further north. There are also 4 riser poles proposed as part of this development. So I did want to call this out. Staff has not added a condition to address the riser poles. Pursuant to the zoning ordinance, the update in January 2018, it specifically states that on-site power lines and utility connections must be placed underground unless otherwise expressly approved as part of the special use permit. Staff has not explicitly called out these riser poles to approve them. That is something that the commission can add on to authorize the 4 riser poles or not. Otherwise, any on-site, utility connections, any electrical lines will have to remain underground until they come up. In this case, it'll be on South Dutton Road as the proposed connection point where it could connect to the existing common utility line. So that is something I want to point out, that it hasn't been added as a condition. And I think we've seen, at least last month, we did see it with a different solar developer. They were requesting 1 pole, so that was something that was expressly authorized, and the commission agreed to that. This set of conditions doesn't address any riser poles, so that's something to note. The subject parcel is not improved with an entrance whatsoever. It is vacant agricultural land. To the north, there is some forested land, and like I said, to the northwest, there is kind of a collection of residences there. Very forested, but there are a number of residences, kind of like a little residential pocket, but they are zoned A1. And I wanted to call out this road, East Goodenow Road, already has 3 solar farm projects that have been previously approved, 2 of which were last month, so that's CC 18029 and ZC 18030. And the very first project to come through was ZC 17036. Different developers than Soltage, so we're looking, with a different agent entirely. But just so you're aware, kind of in proximity, because this, East Goodenow Road, it has already been kind of familiar in terms of solar projects. None of those, we have received any sort of building permits or site development permits for those other projects, but just for reference for the commission to be aware of. And here is actually a map of all the solar farm zoning applications that was prepared by Colin for us. So he did identify the solar farm applications that are pending. So it's kind of hard to see, but I can point out a couple. So Wilmington was tabled, but that was one of them. So we do have, the majority of these solar farm cases are on the eastern side of the county, with Wilmington being kind of the exception on the western side, but we can see, a little bit of where these solar farms have been located. And so this is where we're looking at our area, Cree Township. The subject parcel is zoned A1. On all sides, it is zoned A1. To the north, it's actually forested land, so it's not improved with the residents. To the south, it's both agricultural land and residential. To the east is A1, and it's vacant, unimproved agricultural land. And to the west is A1, it's residential and agricultural. So here's that Connect Explorer image, which is really helpful in kind of getting an impression of what we're looking here in aerial view. So you can see the subject parcel there, South Dutton Road, East Goodnow Road, and then you can see and just beyond there is that collection of residences that I had mentioned, and then to the south there is some agricultural residential activities. So here's a view of the subject parcel looking northeast from the intersection of South Dutton Road and East Goodnow Road. And you actually can see that there is a sign there for the Forest Preserve District, so indicating the location of that within the proximity of the site. Here's looking east, so just kind of turning along East Goodnow Road from that same intersection. View facing east. View of the neighboring residence to the west of the subject parcel. So this is the residence that is within the closest, this and the one to the south within the closest proximity. There is that proposed landscaping along the road frontages, so there will be some screening from the view of the right-of-way and from the view of the residential properties. Here's a view of the other neighboring residence to the south of the subject parcel. So there is some agricultural activities as well taking place on the property. View looking east at the subject parcel from South Dutton Road, so you can see the public hearing sign there. View looking north along South Dutton Road. View looking north from East Goodnow Road. Again, we're looking at the site here and about the approximate location of where the driveway entrance would be off of East Goodnow. View looking northwest of the subject parcel from East Goodnow. So in the distance, you can see that residence that's located on the west side of South Dutton Road. Staff is recommending approval with 10 conditions. Janine has gone into a little bit more detail with some of these conditions. So the ones that I'll call out specifically to the site are the landscaping. So condition number 2 addresses the landscaping along the northern boundary for the areas that are located within 1,000 feet. So this is reflective of the zoning ordinance. So for the portions, it could be the first, 100 feet or so would have to be landscaped if it falls within 1,000 feet of a dwelling unit. Condition number 3, along the road frontage areas, so along East Goodnow Road and South Dutton Road, that landscaping would be required as well, and that would be located outside of the fence. Condition number 4, outdoor lighting is prohibited except for that which is required by code. I do want to make a note, staff notified the Creek Township Highway Commissioner, Creek Township Plan Commission, Village of Creek, Village of Beecher, and the Creek Township Fire Protection District. None of these agencies provided a formal comment, although we know the agent has been working with the township and the fire district. The health department did provide a comment but didn't have any objection. The Will South Cook Soil and Water Conservation District Lisa score places the parcel within the essential farmland category, but it also states that the proposed change is compatible with the surrounding area. In relation to this condition, the project was also reviewed for its potential impacts by the Federal Aviation Administration, and they didn't find any adverse effects. They didn't see any sort of hazard to air navigation. They specifically point out that this project doesn't necessitate any sort of lighting or marking that would be required by the FAA. And as well, from the Illinois Department of Natural Resources, they also said that there would be no adverse effects. So on to the next couple of conditions. So Janine discussed the AMA briefly. The condition that speaks to, condition number 8, a pre-construction meeting. The townships have reached out to us a number of times in terms of these zoning cases coming through the commission, coming through the county board, and what happens once we come to that site development process. So really this condition was, driven by the county board members and the Land Use and Development Committee, just to, with the goal of, yes, we're approving these, things can change on the site plan in terms of location inverters, things like that, but hopefully this pre-construction meeting can address that. There is that concern of noise, making sure not to move that centrally from the site if that is something that was that made residents more comfortable, that it was located further away. So hopefully this pre-construction meeting really allows staff, allows county board members, allows various agencies to voice any sort of concerns before they come and construct their final site. And at a point where developers would still be able to make minor modifications. So that's really the goal of that condition. But that concludes staff's analysis, and I'll answer any questions that you may have.
Anyone have any questions? Staff?
I do appreciate having the overview map of the county showing where all the projects are taking place. It's nice to be able to put those in context that way. Thank you.
I do also. As representatives, I presume, are still here, same representatives. Is there any people that have any comments or concerns, citizens, or objectors to this case? You may come forward after the representatives. If you care to speak first, you may. And then I'll ask you to sit down up here where you can respond later after they are all done to any comments made.
Again, hello, I'm Jonathan Roberts from Soltage. I believe my only comments would be we're happy to comply with each and every condition of the special use permit, of course. We can modify the visual screening from the landscaping on the northern side to obfuscate any views with some evergreens that would grow and match the fence line, which is 7 feet tall. That's approximately also roughly the maximum height of the highest point of the solar panels that are angled pointing south, as you've probably seen from other presentations. Typically on the fixed tilt systems, they face south, and the tracking systems, they have an axis that goes north-south, and they rotate from east to west, kind of following the movement of the sun. Regarding the pole location from ComEd, we do our best to lay out the site plan as you saw it, as well as what we call a single line diagram, which is the electrical diagram. We put both of those drawings together along with an interconnection application that goes to Commonwealth Edison, ComEd. And then ComEd, they will have infrastructure as well that extends from their pole lines to additional pole lines that come to our yard and connect with our poles. And typically, we pay for that infrastructure as part of the arrangement of the interconnection agreement, but they ultimately own it because it will have meters that they use to monitor the flow of electricity from our site to the grid, and they know exactly when it's on, when it's off, how much it's producing. So usually, just as a point of clarification, it's something they dictate to us. But again, we're long-term owner-operators of these sites, and we're happy to partner with Will County in siting projects here. And as I mentioned earlier, just another anecdote about the interconnection queue. The number of projects that have been submitted to ComEd far exceed the incentives that are available, probably on a 4-to-1 or 5-to-1 basis. So that translates to essentially a 1 in 4 or 1 in 5, a 20 to 25% chance of a project being built. So again, I know there was a map showing quite a few projects, but again, the probabilities of what is actually being built will only be a fraction of that. And Bob, do you have any comments to add?
Just to capitalize on Jonathan mentioned earlier about the prairie plants, we plan on using a native seed mix between our solar panels, so that would improve water quality and improve the aesthetics to the inside.
I have a question for you. Two things. One, what are you doing? You're going to use multiple poles above ground from Edison, or are you going underground over to your single pole or to your transformer area?
So our panels produce DC electricity. Those will go to the inverter. Inverter changes the DC to AC. The AC will feed into a transformer typically, and that'll step it up to match the distribution and transmission voltages. And then there will be an underground line that will probably go under the road. I don't know if it's possible to show the map of the site.
Sure.
But underneath the gravel road that was shown in the site, it kind of goes through the middle and then cuts over west and exits onto Goodnow Road. We'll have 3 medium voltage cables that are buried underneath that road, and they'll go to the poles that are in that southwestern corner of the site to ComEd's poles.
Okay. And one, and a light question, then, do you have a rotary inverter or a static inverter? What do you have there?
It's a solid state inverter, so there's no
Okay, so
rotating.
there's no
No,
moving
sir.
parts?
No, sir.
Static inverter. All right, that's what I wanted to know. Thank
Yes,
you.
sir. Anything else?
Okay, would you just, is that,
Yes.
no, anyone else have questions? No, would you just sit down there, please, and
Yes,
we'll
sir.
ask the concerned citizens or objectors to come up?
Thank you.
Would you please come up one at a time? Please state your name and address for the records.
My name is Richard Van Hadam. My address is 27115 Dutton Road. I am all the way on the north end of Dutton Road, on the same side of the street as the proposed project. And I own 15 acres there, and we built a home there 25 years ago. And I guess I'm objecting because I can't believe that it won't be, this project wouldn't be detrimental to the value of my property. I have the 15 acres on the one side of the street, and I have 34 acres on the other side of the street. And we're down gradient of the site. And right now, the water all goes toward my house to the property line and then across the street through my property all the way to Plum Creek. So I'm really responsible for managing that part of the watershed. And we have 2 ponds there that are part of that. It was all engineered years ago to handle the water that is generated, from the farm property. But I'm concerned that these panels that are on the site don't act the same way as farm property do, and they have a lot more runoff and create some problems downstream. And I would basically be responsible to somehow deal with that. So that's my concern. And my objection, of course, is I just don't think that's going to be very good for property values there. And we do have a very nice and expensive home that we built there. And it's kind of the same thing for the other. There are 5 homes on the other side of the street. And this site being located right on the corner is kind of like the entrance to our homes because it's a dead-end street. And that's the only way in and out. It is the entrance to the forest preserve, but there is no other way in or out of the street. So that's what we'll be seeing every time we go down our street.
Well, it is illegal for anybody to transfer water by their fault onto another property, and our engineering staff at the county make sure that that doesn't happen before they allow construction. So I believe that everybody's in line with your same desires to keep your property from having any added water. So if there is a possibility that there will be added water, they will have to remediate it in some way before it gets to you, or the county will stop the construction. And that's the way it works. So
I'm just not sure how that would happen because the water all comes down the street and crosses my property. I don't know how else it would get to Plum Creek. There are no sewers, there's no...
My property was on the branch of Hickory Creek. I understand exactly what you're talking about. And I had
It's
the water
challenging.
down and around.
Yeah.
Okay. Is there anything else you'd like to say?
No, I think that's it. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Hello. My name is Pete Polachek. I am a resident on the same road, Dutton Road. I'm Rich's neighbor.
Give your address, please.
27240 Dutton Road.
Thank you.
And I own approximately almost 5 acres in the area. And it's a very beautiful area. And one of our major concerns is that this is going to be an unsightly entranceway into our little neighborhood. It also is the entranceway to the Forest Preserve, and it's just going to be an unsightly area. It also, what we have coming through there is a lot of deer and various animals that come through and cut across, go over to that field, and they come back, they migrate through. I think it's going to disrupt that as well. I'm concerned about the noise from the buzzing that's going to be created. I feel that this solar farm is much too close to an elegant subdivision and could detract from unknown, or detract from our neighborhood with property values. And there's unknowns such as the solar farm effects on the environment, the effects on human beings living in the area. So there's some things there that I'm very concerned about, being so close to a subdivision. Transformers in the area. Transformers are notorious for exploding in thunderstorms and so forth. We've had many thunderstorms come through the area, knock down trees and so forth, but I'm concerned about that possibility too that could exist with fire, explosion, things like that. The runoff concerns that Rich just mentioned, his property and my property butt up right against each other, and the runoff comes right through from his property right onto my property and cuts down through to the lakes. And there's that potential to manage that. We're having to manage that as it is with all that runoff, and now our fears are that there could be a lot more runoff. So those are the concerns that I have, that myself and my wife have, that we want to come into a subdivision. People want to come in and see something nice, not a solar farm.
Well, in defense of the solar farm and the way the staff has laid it out, it will be like a forest you're looking at. You won't see a solar farm. You'll see trees and bushes all the way around that will totally block the solar farm from going. Now, you do make a point that there won't be access for deer necessarily to get through, but they'll have to go around through the trees, just like they do whenever they meet another object that's in their way.
I understand, but they're talking about 3-foot-high plantations of evergreens and that, and I've planted many trees over the years. I've lived there for 18 plus years, and it takes a while for that stuff to grow and to block out the area. So what they're talking about, oh, it's going to be beautiful with trees and bushes and shrubbery. It's going to take a while for that to grow to heights and widths.
I won't deny that. But what I'm saying is, given the correct amount of time, you will end up with something that looks like a forest preserve.
Probably after I'm long retired and gone. So that's my concern, is that it's what is going to occur now, not what it's going to look like 10 years from now when they're fully grown and so forth. I'm concerned about what it's going to look like now. So thank you very much. I appreciate it.
How many homes are back there?
There is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 homes.
8 homes. They're all accessed, from Dutton Road.
They only can access through Dutton Road, and that is the only access to the Forest Preserve. That was all redone recently, and yeah, so it's about 8 homes. They're all fairly nice homes too. They're all elegant. So, okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks. Go for it, Sarah.
acting as a representative for my sister Sarah White, who is the owner at 27314 Dutton Road. She couldn't be here tonight because she has to work. So one of her big concerns about this proposal is, again, what it's going to do to her property value. Her home is kind of at the corner there and would be looking directly from her kitchen out onto the solar field. That would be her view. As they were saying, there's actually no solid plan right now for the northern border, which would be where she'd be looking at. I do know that they said that they wanted to do landscaping. 3-foot shrubs every 5 feet doesn't do a lot. It will take a long time, as he was saying. Additionally, I didn't think about it until he said about the deer, but that's definitely going to increase because with the chain link fence, the deer are going to probably be out on the road a lot more, which would be a traffic and safety concern for people who drive
Is your
there.
microphone on? See the light?
There we go.
Yeah.
Sorry, new to this. Did you get what I said, or do you need
Yes, I got what you said, but I just wanted to make sure.
that everybody else could get it too?
Yes.
Sorry about that. So as I was saying, it would be a concern if the deer are forced out onto the road by having that large parcel of land blockaded by chain link fence. For people who have to frequent that road regularly, that is a big concern, especially at night, because there isn't a lot of lighting along there. So that could be a problem for a lot of the residents through there. But additionally, I know that there's been comments that we don't know how it's going to affect property values because this is a relatively new thing. That's pretty disconcerting for the people who own that property to say, well, we don't know how this is going to affect it. A lot of realtors that have been consulted about this say, yeah, this is going to make your property not as good. People aren't going to want to buy this looking out at that. Especially when right now it's just beautiful farmland.
I'm not going to dispute what you're saying at all, but I do want to make a comment. The same realtors 20 years ago said that trails were going to cause terrible property devaluation, and they increased the property value. So you don't know exactly. All you can do is say this is a supposition.
Right, and that's the thing. And being in that position of a homeowner and we don't know, that's scary.
Of course, it's a major investment in our lives.
It is.
Yeah.
And as they were saying, that is the entrance to the forest preserve there. It's a nice area. You know, like when I tell my friends if they're coming over to see me at my sister's, I say, you turn at the forest preserve, nice big open field there. And so it is definitely going to change how people view the area.
Any other comments? Okay, thank you very much.
Thanks.
We appreciate all of your input. So, would you care to respond to some of these comments? There was no one else, correct?
One more.
One more? Okay, I'm sorry.
Just
I
a
didn't
little
see
guy
you
coming
raise
up,
your
just a
hand
little
or
guy.
anything, so I didn't know you were.
Good evening. 27260 Dutton Road, Doug Eastland. This is pretty much what everybody else said. It's a beautiful area.
And your name?
Doug Eastland.
Oh, Doug Eastland, thank you.
Beautiful area. Change. Sometimes you got to be careful in different areas. Something's nice already. Sometimes just leave it alone.
Yeah.
But some houses are back there kind of hidden in a pocket. So I like to keep it that way. All that. Everything else is good. Okay.
Yeah, appreciate that, thank you. And they finally did a little road repair and good now too, right?
Yeah.
Don't have all the potholes if they had solid, but.
Keep it up, right?
Yep. Would you care to comment on and alleviate some of the neighbors' worries?
Hi, once again, I'm Bob Mack. I'm a civil engineer, registered professional engineer. My background has basically been stormwater management and hydraulics. I got about 35 years experience in that field. and I'd like to talk about the concerns with the stormwater and the drainage. The site actually is divided with the summit kind of sending some of the water to the north towards that forest reserve area. There's a lake just to the north of the site. There's a little bit of the site that drains up there, and then a very little of the portion would actually drain to the property owner's area to the north and to the west. The majority of the site actually drains directly west and to the south, and there's a culvert that goes under the road just near the intersection with Dutton, just north of the intersection with Goodenow and Dutton Road. So a majority of the water doesn't get to the neighbors that are concerned. But I'd like to talk about how the water does find its way into the ground as a result of the solar improvements that we're doing. So one of the things that Soltage and very other solar developers do is they remove the row crops that are on the fields right now. And the row crops tend to have a higher runoff value. They drain water more effectively than, say, a prairie plant. And so what the solar companies are generally doing, they're putting native vegetation, prairie plants, pollinator plants, between the solar panels. So when the water runs off the panel, it goes into the ground through the deep roots of the prairie plants, rather than in what is common on the farm fields, they have a higher runoff coefficient. So you would tend to get less water as a result of the solar, because they are replacing the farm crops in that 10 acres, general 10 acres area with prairie plants and native vegetation. So that has a deeper root system. It brings the water into the ground. It also improves water quality too. As a result, there won't be any pesticides or herbicides or fertilizers put on the farm fields, which are traditionally put on the farm fields. So you'll have just basically solar panels with native vegetation between them, and the water will be able to drain to the ground as it did historically prior to any farming. So just want to let you guys take that into consideration.
I don't think Bob mentioned, but he's a professional engineer, civil engineer by training, also a certified floodplain manager, so his specialty is stormwater runoff on sites and varying topographies. I'm also an engineer by training with Soltage, and before I worked as a developer to try and locate, working with landowners and counties and utilities on where to build these sites. I used to build them, and I've built 51 projects in 7 states in the last 4 years. I'm based here in Illinois, and I was really excited when I started working with Soltage, rather than traveling across the country and building solar elsewhere, that the Future Energy Jobs Act in Illinois made it possible to do that job here in Illinois. So for me, it was a job creator, and I think I'm seeing the evidence of that elsewhere. And as mentioned earlier, I think it's a boom in economic development, even at the county level, with the increase in property taxes that will be seen from these sites. But I did make some notes, so I'll just quickly go through aside from the drainage comments that Bob directly addressed. On property value, we've seen no evidence in national studies from Department of Energy and National Renewable Energy Laboratory, and I'm happy to send any of these to either the commission or to the staff to back up what I'm saying right now, but no correlation between property values and the adjacentness or abutting solar facilities. There's even been shown on systems installed on homes, on residential homes, that it helps their property value, resale value, because their utility bills drop down, and it's often seen as an advantage, but this is a different type of system. It's just a small community solar garden that's supplying power to subscribers across Illinois. Deer migration, I can't really comment on that. It's going to be a fenced-off area with a 7-foot fence. We avoided razor wire on the top to make it look less like a prison and just more like a stationary static solar field that will be surrounded by a vegetative screen. The 3-foot dimension that was cited, that was for the shrub height. We are going to have evergreens and the shrubs together. The evergreens will be have a minimum height of 5 foot, and of course grow over time, and the shrubs will grow as well. But from the get-go, we're going to have a mixture of both shrubs and evergreens. Buzzing sounds, the loudest piece of equipment would probably be the transformer, which this building is served by a transformer, and numerous other commercial and industrial facilities across Joliet and Will County are served by three-phase transformers, very standard technology. There is noise associated with this, but the decibel level is equivalent to a refrigerator in terms of the actual discernible measurement of what the sound produces, and it's a steady state sound that can't really be heard at a distance, especially in an outdoor environment. So other than that, wind turbines are actually louder, surprisingly, than solar. The panels aren't going to be moving, they're stationary, no sounds from that, and the transformers are quieter than the transformer. We are not going to be obstructing any traffic on Dutton Road. Our access will be from the road to the south on Goodnow, so there will be no oncoming and offgoing traffic during the operation of the system for 25 to 30 years. It will be visited by maintenance crews as necessary, and our company, our standard is about 3 times a year. If there's ever anything wrong with the site, we dispatch someone. If there's a power outage, part of the regulations that govern our inverters, if there's ever a loss of power on the utility lines from ComEd on 1 phase, 2 phases, or all 3 phases, our system shuts down and isolates itself so that the crew workers that come out to fix the lines, they don't get shocked. That's a safety feature. And then when the grid is restored, it can sense that the grid's back online and start operating again. So we're able to operate these in a way that is safe and passive, that people don't have to visit 24/7. It's monitored by an internet connection that monitors down to the panel level the operation of the system. And I think with that, I hit all the major points that I took notes on for the discussion.
Questions, anybody?
Just a comment, I would agree, anecdotally, being, involved in agriculture, that from a drainage standpoint, there is going to be less runoff, from projects, even with the solar panels. I'm certainly not an engineer, but just being around prairie, scenarios and so forth, I do believe that runoff, is really not an issue. I do struggle with the notion that although this is a fairly unintrusive project, it is, positioned at a gateway, to an 8-home development. That would be where I struggle at this point.
You don't have any faith in the plannings to hide this from the people?
I do, but, and that's where it just becomes subjective, on my part.
Yeah.
So,
All right. Do you feel like you got an answer to most of your questions?
I have another question in response to what they said.
You may come down and ask one more, but you ask us. It's a one-way system. You ask us and then we ask them. I mean, that's the way it works.
I can agree to that. I'll make sure my mic's on this time. So I appreciate that the prairie plants will help with absorbing water and decrease erosion. My concern would be with the number of solar panels that are proposed. That's a large, flat surface area. How would that affect water runoff in a large downpour of water? Like if you have a big storm all at once. The prairie plants can help, but only to some degree with that much large, flat area that the water would be
They're not flat. They're set at a permanent angle.
Right, so it's a large flat area that's going to collect and then run off into the field, and the roots of the plants can only absorb so much when you get a large downpour.
I get this comment was that it was improved drainage compared to the farm field.
Generally, yeah.
So either way, it's improved.
Even with the large downpour.
Yeah. So if you're still farming there and there is no solar plant there, you're going to get more water coming down off the farmland than you are off the heavily planted prairie grasses. And what does come out comes out a leish, which is a system of plant cleaning of the water, so you get cleaner water coming out when it comes out.
And then in the concept of about 1 in 4 or 1 in 5 of the projects being approved, I guess if the rate is that, I would say maybe consider not approving the one that's where a bunch of people are going to have to look at.
They're by lottery. None of these may ever be built, but we're questioning to make sure that people understand in case some of them are built.
We appreciate that.
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
Okay. I would request a motion on this case. Anybody?
Mr. Chairman, with regard to case number ZC-18-043, I would move for approval of a special use permit for a solar farm with the 10 conditions as outlined in the staff report.
Second. Second. Okay, we have a second at that second. Yes. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed, say no.
No.
Okay. So we have one opposed, and that means this does not pass. There was 3 ayes and a nay, so that case did not pass.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Next case we're going to hear is zoning case ZC-18-044, and Janine Farrell will open the case for us.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Zoning case ZC-18-044. This is the last of our solar farm cases for tonight. And this one takes place in Monee Township. The owners are Judy and James Zappia, and the applicant is Jonathan Roberts of Soltage with the attorney Brian Keith. The applicant is proposing to construct a 2-megawatt facility on approximately 21.4 acres. I have the parcel here outlined in red, and again, this special use is applying to the entirety of the parcel, so all 21.4 acres. The parcel is zoned A1 and is also completely surrounded by A1 zoning. I'd like to make mention that this parcel, as noted in your staff report, is within the ultimate footprint of the proposed South Suburban Airport. Let's apply the survey here on the screen for you. And this is the site concept plan. So the applicant is proposing an entrance off of West Pauling, right here where you see the separation in the trees. We have the panels going here. So it's close to the intersection of West Pauling and South Will Center Road. It's actually about 100 feet from the right-of-way of West Pauling Road and about 70 feet from the right-of-way of South Will Center Road. Now, regardless of what is on this site concept plan, because it is just a concept plan, the applicant is required to meet the A1 zoning district standards of a minimum of 100-foot setback from the center line of these roads. I would also like to point out with these panels here, you can see there's a residential property directly to the east across Will Center Road. And I'm going to back up to the aerial for you here. To the north here, although this is just a vacant agricultural parcel, there's actually a church up here and another residential parcel over here. And then we have some vacant agricultural land, but then we also have residential parcels here, and we have a residential subdivision up here to the northwest. Now the parcels that are closest to the solar farm, right here, are actually vacant. Although they have the address points, they're currently vacant, and I'll show you this in the Connect Explorer image. But again, this subdivision is, very built out, so I would intend that, future development would occur on those parcels. Okay, here is an image for you looking at the site, looking northwest from the intersection of West Pauling Road and South Will Center Road. This is a view that is looking directly north at the subject site from West Pauling Road. And you can see in the background there, the church beyond the row crops. This is an image looking directly west at the site from South Will Center Road. This is an image of that residential farmstead property that is located to the east across South Will Center Road. This is a view of the intersection. There is also another residential property that's sort of to the southeast of the subject site there at the intersection. And here's the Connect Explorer image, which again really helps to illustrate things for us. So we have our subject site outlined in blue. We have the church up here, as I mentioned, and we have some residential properties beyond this church, of course. We do have another residential property right here. Now this church is approximately within 900 feet of the nearest panel or array. And just from rough aerial measuring, this residence is basically like right at the 1,000-foot mark. So although the applicant does not show this on the site concept plan, landscaping will be required along that northern boundary of the project site. Of course, landscaping will be required along the road frontage areas as well. And we do have the residential property there. There's that other one that I showed in the image. And then along the western with these residential properties. And this is that subdivision that I was mentioning with the vacant lots, which are nearest, although we do have some built-out lots within the subdivision.
The two lots right to the west of that are vacant lots, correct?
Correct. I believe the one directly adjacent is owned by the same people here.
Okay.
I'm not sure if the one adjacent to that is also owned by the same person.
Thank you.
Okay, staff is recommending approval of the special use permit for the solar farm with 10 conditions. We received comments from Will South Cook Soil and Water Conservation District, Will County DOT, the Health Department, the FAA, and IDNR. The FAA determined no hazard to air navigation. IDNR stated that adverse effects were unlikely to protected resources in the area. And Will South Cook stated that the use is compatible to the surrounding area and other adjacent land uses. Again, staff received notice that Mooney Township held a meeting on June 7th, but no formal comments were received by our office. Will County DOT stated that only one entrance will be permitted, and the entrance will be paved and will be between 16 to 24 feet at the right-of-way. The Mooney Fire Protection District, the Village of Mooney, and the Mooney Township Highway Commissioner did not provide comments. Again, as with the other solar farm cases, staff does not believe that the special use will be injurious to the use and development of the surrounding area, and ensuring that the welfare and safety of the surrounding property owners through the use of the security fence and also landscaping the entire perimeter of the project site in this instance before you. I'm not going to go, of course, in depth into all of the conditions because Jeff's before me and then I also went into these here. But I will highlight condition number 2 and condition number 3, which require that landscaping along all of the all the perimeter of the project site. And then we have the standard ones again that we talk about the decommissioning, we talk about and require the AMA and the pre-construction meeting, as well as the agricultural consultants, and of course approval from the Mooney Fire Protection District, the Health Department, and Will County DOT. And that concludes staff's analysis.
Thank you very much. Does anyone have any questions of staff? The representatives are here, and as you see, there's no one in the audience anymore, so I don't think there's any objectors, but I will ask, are there any objectors or concerned citizens on this case? Okay. And then I will entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, with regard to case number ZC-18-044, I would move for approval of a special use permit for a solar farm with the 10 conditions as outlined in the staff report.
Second. We have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Okay, thank you very much. You have paperwork for these gentlemen?
They follow through, they'll follow through to land use.
Do we have anything from staff or legal or?
Real quick,
Yes.
would the commission have an objection to be receiving all of the paperwork through your emails instead of paper copies?
I do not, as long as I get it. Right? As long as I get it, because sometimes I get it, sometimes I don't, and I don't know why that is.
Yeah, yes.
And then in terms of,
Only because as far as tonight's meeting went, that's a lot of trees that we're using to produce all the paperwork. All the other committees get them through the website.
Could we get the agenda?
the agenda, sir.
Sure.
And the
And
minutes.
Okay.
And then the other stuff to come up. We have to email what's online, we have to look at it.
I would email it.
Email, so we're okay with that? Okay,
Yeah, as
thank
long as, you know, the AV is working properly where we have reference, you know, for making motions and so forth.
We'll go as paperless as we can.
That's right. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Is there there's nothing else from anyone? Anyone want to make a comment here? No? Okay. Then make a motion for, entertain a motion for a meeting adjournment.
Mr. Chairman, I move to adjourn this evening's meeting.
Second. Motion, second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much. Scott, thank you in particular for referring